my name is Ren. This is Ren Rants, a channel where I rant about many things that I care about with a particular focus on pop culture. In this video, we are going to talk about the 2018 film directed by David Leitch, Deadpool 2. Obviously, because we have to talk about Deadpool 2, because it was a blast. This will be a spoiler-free review, but before I get into that, I just have a little bit of housekeeping to do and a couple of quick announcements. First of all, I do want to apologize for my long absence from making videos. I know I just kind of disappeared without explanation. I got a couple of concerned comments and messages from people, and first of all, I just wanted to say thank you. That's really, really sweet. I know some people like my channel, obviously, but I have trouble imagining that people are invested enough to notice or care when I'm not consistently uploading videos. So it really did mean a lot to me that people cared and that my presence on the internet was missed by a few people. So thank you for that. That's super sweet and encouraging, and I promise I will try not to disappear like that for that long again without reason, because there was no reason at all. I have just been feeling kind of burnt out lately from just work and life and getting ready for law school, and I just have been procrastinating and taking a lot of depression naps. That's all I've been doing. I'm so sorry. So thank you for bearing with me. I will try to be more consistent in the future. Yeah. Also, I will be moving soon, which means that after the next several videos, my backgrounds are going to start changing and being very inconsistent because I will be moving around in my new place trying to find which part of the house works best for filming. I'm going to be living with a bunch of roommates and cats, so finding a good spot where I can film without disturbing my roommates and where it's also quiet enough might take a little bit of time. So bear with me through that process. I promise it will hopefully end up being better in the long term. And finally, I realized that I just launched a different channel that I still haven't really updated much beyond the intro video. And don't worry, more stuff will be coming out on Ask a Law Student very soon if you're invested in that. But I've also been thinking that I really want a channel where I have a little less pressure than either of these two channels. With both Ren Rants and Ask a Law Student, I do feel obligated to produce a certain level of content at this point. I know it's not great. Trust me, I know it's not great. I know my editing skills are lacking. I do. I'm very aware of this. But I still end up having to put a lot of time into even short and relatively simple videos, and I really want a space where I can just sort of share my thoughts with the internet without that kind of pressure to polish them up. And the funny thing is that really was supposed to be what Ren Rants was going to be. But I think I'm going to be launching a new channel where I don't really talk so much about politics, I don't really talk so much about pop culture. I mostly just talk about my thoughts on life, my experiences, my feelings, my observations, just little things that I kind of want to share with the world, but they don't quite feel like they fit here or there or any of the other spaces I've created for myself online. So I will link to that in the description down below. I will probably mention it by name in another video once I get everything all set up. That channel really is just going to be raw footage of me talking with no editing. That is all you can expect from that. It will be nothing else. But I really hope that for some people that gives them a little bit more to connect with. And for me, I just really feel like I need an outlet that doesn't add any stress to my life, if that makes any sense. So it's just going to be a place for me to share my thoughts and feelings. If you're interested in that, feel free to subscribe. Again, I will link it in the description down below. If you are not interested in that, no harm, no foul. I know that for some of you, that is not why you watch my channel, and that is a-okay. Alright, so let's get into this review of Deadpool 2, which I have filmed like a bazillion times and not been happy with any of the takes so far, but this is the last one I'm doing, so this one better be okay. Again, this will be a spoiler-free review, so if you've not seen the movie, you are totally good to watch this review. I can't make any promises for the comment section down below though, so that is on you, my friends. My general overall impression of this movie is that it's not quite as good as the first movie, which came out in 2016 and starred many of the same actors and was just an absolute riot. I loved that movie. but it's a good follow-up, especially in the era of pretty terrible sequels that we tend to live in right now. I think that this is a uniquely good sequel in that it does a good job of telling us a new story, moving the plot and characters forward, and still capturing a lot of what was great and fun and enjoyable about the first one. So, full disclosure, and I feel like I say this every time I talk about a superhero movie on my channel, I am not super into superhero movies and comics. It's not my favorite genre. I have reviewed and seen more than a few superhero movies. I watch them a lot with my friends and family. I go and see them in theaters from time to time, but I'm not really invested in them to the point where I really get into any of the expanded universe stuff or even really catch up entirely on the cinematic universes from Marvel or DC. I would say I'm a very, very, very casual fan if you were to call me a fan at all. And so that is the perspective that I watch this movie from, as someone who has seen a good number of superhero movies, enough to notice a lot of the common tropes and themes and flaws, but also as someone who's not particularly invested in them either. And so this movie is kind of the perfect blend of the two, where you get a lot of the action and drama and emotional stakes and big over-the-top moments and cheesy stories with contrived silly plots. You get all of the fun stuff, but it's not taking itself seriously. It's just funny and irreverent and so good, but it does know when to have a sincere moment from time to time to still make you care. I would say in tone, it's actually really similar to movies like Hot Fuzz or Shaun of the Dead, where it's definitely primarily a comedy movie, but it actually still does a good job of being the genre that it is. Like, this is a good superhero movie that happens to also be a parody of a superhero movie, in the way that Shaun of the Dead is actually a really fun zombie movie. Like, it's a good zombie movie that also happens to be a great zombie parody comedy. So, I knew kind of what to expect going into this movie after seeing Deadpool, and I would say this movie captures a lot of the things that made the previous movie great. Lots of great fourth wall breaks and funny moments and just ridiculous scenes. Ryan Reynolds, of course, as Deadpool, was amazing. His delivery is so perfect.
Could you speak up?
And he just sells you this character. It's totally over the top. It's totally ridiculous, but you're just like, okay, I will accept this. This is my reality right now. I enjoyed seeing Morena Baccarin back in this movie because I love Morena Baccarin, because I'm obligated to love the entire cast of Firefly, and I think that she did a really good job of, even with the limited capacity they used her, adding a little more emotional depth to this movie, and I think a reason is probably just the chemistry between her and Ryan Reynolds is really believable, and it adds a lot of feelings to this very silly movie. And don't get me wrong, this is a very silly movie. Like, part of why I didn't do a plot-based review of this is going into the plot of this movie. It's just very, very cheesy, and there's so many moving parts and so much going on, and it's just so much that it's just not even worth trying to summarize. And, you know, the plot isn't really the point of this movie, which is, I think, why I give it a pass on a lot of things that I wouldn't give other movies a pass on, because it is first and foremost a comedy in many ways. A few other things that I really liked about this movie. I really, really enjoyed Zazie Beetz as Domino.
X-Force.
Isn't that a little derivative?
I love the idea of a superhero that just has so much luck that they just sort of figure out how to skip through life weaponizing their luck. And it's great because she's still competent. She still has agency. She just sort of almost directs her luck towards the goals that she wants to accomplish, and then she accomplishes them in just fucking ridiculous ways. It's so stupid and amazing, and I love it. I love it. The X-Force team and X-Force related scenes in general were probably my favorite part of the movie. They were just great. They were ridiculous, they were stupid, they were amazing, and in particular, my favorite scene in the entire movie is probably the X-Force parachute scene. The scene is really obviously foreshadowed and still somehow comes right the fuck out of nowhere, and you're just like, what? What? But it's so funny. It's so funny. I completely lost it. I was just guffawing in the theater. It was amazing. Definitely my favorite scene in the movie. I think all of the adult actors in this movie tell their stories very well. I even really enjoyed Josh Brolin as Cable. I thought he was fun as the classic, like, dark, brooding superhero who's lost his family. And his storyline was actually pretty compelling. Very, very predictable. That's what I would say. The actual plot of this movie is very predictable. You pretty much always know where they're going with it. It's big and messy and contrived, but it's also very, very obvious. And the plot is definitely the weakest thing about this movie. I would say especially the latter 2/3 of this movie are much weaker. It starts, I think, a lot stronger. While some of the best parts are in the later movie, the overall story just gets a lot worse, in my opinion, as the movie goes along. And the thing is, they base this entire plot of the latter part of the movie around basically a mutant discrimination plot with a kid. And okay, a couple things. First of all, the kid is played by Julian Dennison, who is a New Zealand actor, who is a child actor, and I don't blame the kid. But if you're going to put a child actor in a movie with a primarily adult cast, in a movie that's directed towards adults, you need to have a child that can act at least some semblance of the same level as the adult cast. And I just don't think this kid had the chops. I don't know if it was the bad writing for the kid. I don't know if it was the direction for the kid. You know, there were some okay moments here and there where, you know, you might have felt some feelings or where the kid might make a joke land, but for the most part, I don't think he really added all that much to the story, and the movie's so focused around him that I almost think it's detrimental to the overall story, because I just couldn't get invested in the kid. I just couldn't care. And I think part of it is that kid, I don't know if he couldn't act, or if it was just compared with all of the adults, or the fact that it's a storyline that might be a little out of his depth. But I just wasn't impressed with it. I think it actively made the movie a little bit worse. And I think that compared to Deadpool, having such a big part of the movie that doesn't work that well, it does make it just not quite as good as the first movie. I also didn't really care for many of the prison scenes. I guess they were okay. They were kind of funny from time to time, but there were so many better scenes in the movie, and there were so many other things I wish we could have spent more time on in the movie. And the prison, of course, ends up being important to the plot to an extent, but I feel like there were so many different things they could have just done differently with this story, with these characters, that I might have enjoyed more. So overall, it wasn't a bad movie, and I don't want to pick on Julian Dennison. I'm sure he will get much better as he grows up. I'm sure if it was a kid movie directed towards kids, or if he had a better direction for his particular acting style, I think that he could probably be a lot more successful. I'm sure that we will see him in many other things in the future, and he will do great things, but I was not particularly impressed with this performance, especially in comparison to all the adult actors who really sold their performances in this movie. So, again, this is the kind of movie where you don't take anything about it too seriously, and I'm not really all that invested, but I think that they could have done some things a little bit better, but overall it was a great follow-up, and I enjoyed it. If you like superhero movies, I think you'll really enjoy this movie. If you don't like superhero movies, I think you'll really enjoy this movie, and you should definitely go check it out, and then let me know what you thought of it in the comment section down below. If you like my videos, subscribe. If you don't, I am sure you will tell me, and I promise I will be uploading some new videos very soon. I will finish reviewing all of Final Space, and I do intend to talk about 13 Reasons Why Season 2, because I have thoughts about that, and I will be reviewing Solo after I go see it, because I have not had much incentive to go see it. It does not look like it will be great. I have not heard good things, but I will watch it, and I will let you know what I think about it. See you next time. Wiedersehen.